This person here is a really good friend of mine, and I've had a few lengthy chats with him. He had a much bigger channel than this one says here. Much bigger, and something he said went viral and went on the news, and then the main news, and then he found his channel taken down. He likes to tell you the truth. Anyway, this is part of this hangout. Is it that one? Well, it's one of these hangouts. I think it's this one actually. It's a few minutes out of this hangout where he's got a lot more to say in that one. And I just wondered what your thoughts were, and because we are thrust a lot about vaccinations, what's your thoughts on vaccinations after listening to what he has to say?
And one thing I want to show as well is this basically about vaccines and so-called conspiracies. Take a listen.
Look, this is one time. Forget the conspiracy. Listen to our government agencies. These guys are telling the truth. There's no conspiracy here, folks. Just get your damn vaccine.
All right, thank you.
And she says that with this big smile on her face. Many families have been destroyed with these vaccines that have created autism and other side effects. And this is shameful for someone like this, a so-called doctor, pushing this garbage vaccines on the public to millions upon millions of people. And it reminds me of this clip as well, which I played many times in the past. You have Dr. Oz on CNN admitting that his own wife and children don't get vaccinated.
How do you convince the other parents out there that we need to do this?
Careful, I'm going to get it.
Yes.
If that helps at all, but I'll tell you, my wife is not getting immunized with kids. Because I've got 4 of them, and when I go home, I'm not Dr. Oz, I'm Mr. Oz.
So again, Dr. Oz can't convince his own wife and children to get vaccinated. And millions upon millions of people are listening to Dr. Oz's advice as far as getting vaccinated. Very dangerous, and people really need to read between the lines. Actually, there's nothing to read between the lines. He's flat out saying it. Basically, his wife thinks it's not safe. And also a very important clip from Dr. Lawrence Pavlevsky. And this doctor, which you'll never see on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, talking about the dangers of vaccines. Take a listen. Very powerful what he has to say here.
In 1983, when I started medical school, I was taught vaccines were safe and they were effective and give them. But I was not taught about any of the science around their safety or any of the studies around how safety were done. And it wasn't until 1998 that a mother came up to me and said, "Dr. Larry, did you know that there's mercury in vaccines?" And I said, "No, I did not." And as a medical student, I was trained to critically think. If you see an observation, you go after it and try and figure out if there's a question to ask. So instead of just ignoring it, I looked further into the vaccine ingredients, and I found that there were a number of vaccine ingredients that in animal studies were proven to be very dangerous to animals. And I didn't understand why these same ingredients were actually in vaccines. I was starting to hear stories from parents, not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands of stories from parents who took a very healthy child into their doctor's office and then found that their child lost much of their health, whether it was their speech, whether it was seizures, whether it was death, whether it was asthma, allergies, eczema, whether it was autism, whether it was learning disabilities, whether it was inflammatory bowel disease, autoimmune diseases. And every one of those parents were told it had nothing to do with the vaccine. Every single one. And this continues today. But yet, when I look at the ingredients that are in the vaccines, I have the science to actually explain how these medical problems could be happening in these children. Today, one child in 5 is learning disabled. In 1976, it was 1 in 17. 1 in 6 under age 8, 1 in 2 adolescents, and 1 in 4 young adults is diagnosed with a mental, behavioral, or emotional disorder. 1 in 20 children under the age of 5 have seizures. 1 child in 40 develops autism.